Mr. Sergeant at Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives 110th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in session. Will the members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Byrd will introduce our chaplain of the day. Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, members of the House, staff, and distinguished guests, it is my honor and privilege to introduce our chaplain for today's invocation, Brother Thad Calton. Thad is a Wayne County native who currently resides in Hardin County, where he serves as pastor of East End United Methodist Church in Savannah, Tennessee. He and his wife, Kayla, have been married for 8 years and have 7 amazing children: Leah, 17, Carly, 13, Sloan, 7, Wake, 5, Haley, 5, Levi, 3, and John Alex, 2. Thad and his wife have also fostered many other children through DCS over the past 2 years. He also serves on the board of Sheltering Tree Ranch, an accredited school in Savannah that provides education and services for children with diverse special needs. Brother Thad Calton.
If you would bow with me. God, at this time we come to you and we just thank you for this opportunity that we have to service the land that you have created and the land that you have given to us. God, I just ask that you would be with each person in this room. God, just help them to clear their hearts and minds of the world around them and focus on the business that you have laid out before them. God, I ask that you would give them a peace of heart and a peace of mind, that they could work together, they could serve together, God, and that they can love together during this session. And it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Representative Byrd will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, take the roll.
Roll call.
Take the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Madam Speaker, 85 members present.
Let the journal reflect that Representative Ackberry, Gilmore, Turner, Sexton of Granger, and DeBerry and Littleton are excused. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Personal orders.
Personal orders. Representative Brooks is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If my colleagues could help me welcome from Lee University the Public Relations Bateman team that are here for With Purpose Day, which we declared as H.R. 190. Miss Kirsten Powers, Miss Julia Emerson, Miss Emily Martin, and Miss Deborah Robbins from Lee University PR Bateman team. Let's make them feel welcome. Thanks very much for being here, ladies.
Representative Beck is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm honored to have with us the new mayor of the great city of Nashville, Davidson County. The Honorable David Briley is here with us today. Would everyone make him feel welcome?
Representative Wargo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today is Intern Family Day on the Hill, and I'm sure many members have their interns and family members, but I have a gentleman working out of my office, and he's here this evening with his father, Mr. Goodwin. If you'll please make him feel welcome. Also, Madam Speaker, we have 2 of my road commissioners in my district are here, one for Benton County, Mr. Buck Carter, and from Henry County, Mr. Rich Chilcutt. Make them feel welcome as well. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Hulsey is recognized in the well.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I request that the Sergeant at Arms open the door and escort our guests into the chamber.
Mr. Sergeant Arms, escort the guests to the well.
Yeah. Hey, bro. Appreciate you coming. Hey, bro. You got room here? We'll make our way in here. Madam Speaker, I request that the clerk read the proclamation.
Mr. Clerk, read the proclamation.
Whereas the state of Tennessee is blessed with dedicated law enforcement officers who risk their personal safety, even their lives, to protect and serve their communities, and whereas it is very nature of law enforcement that its officers are often first on the scene during incidents that threaten the public safety, and these brave men and women continue to earn their loyalty and appreciation with their heroism and professionalism, and whereas the Mooneyham-Jackson families of Northeast Tennessee have established an incredible record of faithful and proficient service as law enforcement officers during the last 7 decades, and whereas the progenitor of this loyal line of police officers is Sergeant Paul Mooneyham Sr., who served 22 years with the Tennessee Highway Patrol and was the state's first accident reconstructionist. He also served as an instructor at the Police Academy and the Walters State Community College, and whereas a veteran of the United States Air Force who severely injured while serving in North Africa, Sergeant Mooneyham achieved his dream of joining THP after receiving a medical discharge from the military, whereas the family's matriarch is Phyllis Mooneyham-Thompson. She served 28 years with THP and was one of the first female commercial vehicle examiners in the state of Tennessee, and whereas Sergeant Paul Mooneyham Jr., the son of Paul Sr. and Phyllis, is currently a THP officer with 32 years of exemplary service. As a U.S. Army veteran, he is stationed in Sullivan County, and whereas Phyllis Eve Mooneyham-Jackson, the Mooneyham's daughter, served 32 years with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and retired as Detective Lieutenant, and whereas Jeffrey G. Jeff Jackson, Eve's husband, is a 37-year veteran of the Mount Carmel Police Department, beginning his career as a volunteer reserve officer with the department. He currently serves as the Chief of Police, and whereas Corporal J. Dustin Jackson, Eve and Jeff's oldest son, has been an officer with the Kingsport Police Department for 15 years. Dustin was shot in the line of duty on November 9th, 2017, and returned to active duty on January 23rd, 2018, after 2.5 months of recuperation. And whereas Field Training Officer Travis N. Jackson, their second son, has been a deputy with the Sullivan County Sheriff's Department since 2009. In addition to receiving 31 commendations, Travis was featured in 16 episodes of the Southern Justice television show. And whereas we wish to recognize the Mooneyham and Jackson families for their courage, fortitude in protecting and serving the good people of Northeast Tennessee. Now, therefore, Beth Harwell, Speaker of the House of Representatives of the 110th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, at the request of and in conjunction with Representative Bud Hulsey, do hereby proclaim that we honor and commend the late Paul Mooneyham Sr., Phyllis Mooneyham-Thompson, Paul Mooneyham Jr., Eve Mooneyham-Jackson, Jeff Jackson, Dustin Jackson, Travis Jackson, and the other members of the extended Mooneyham and Jackson families upon their exemplary careers in law enforcement. Few families have produced such a large number of devoted public servants, and we wish to extend to each of these fine people our gratitude for a dangerous job well done.
Representative Hulsey, you recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me explain that to you now, briefly. Several years ago, Colonel Trott and I hired on up in Northeast Tennessee about the same time. We both knew and worked with a man called Paul Mooneyham Sr. He taught in the police academy. He was the first THP officer certified to do traffic accident reconstruction. While he was working an accident that took the life of a Sullivan County deputy, it was horrific. He had a heart attack and died. He was married to this lady right here, Phyllis, who also worked for Tennessee Highway Patrol. She was the first lady ever certified in this state, female, to do inspections on commercial vehicles. Together, they had 3 children. This man right here, Paul Mooneyham Jr., who's a sergeant with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, been there 32 years. They also had this girl, Eve, who came up through the ranks of Hawkins County Sheriff's Department, just retired not too long ago as a lieutenant. She married this man, who came up through Hawkins County and also Mount Carmel Police Department. He's now the current chief of police of Mount Carmel Police Department. There's one more. Yes, Teresa, who is the mother of this girl, Brianna, who is an officer with Johnson City Police Department. This is her boyfriend, who is a deputy with Washington County Sheriff's Department. Jeff and Eve had 2 sons. Where's Travis? Travis right here, who, besides several commentations, you might have seen him on Southern Justice. If you watch that TV show, he's been on 16 episodes. And they also had this boy, Dusty Jackson, who received the greatest part of his great training on the 1st platoon of the Kingsport Police Department. That was my platoon. Dusty, in November, was in a standoff and was shot with a shotgun. He's just now returning to duty. He's got 106 pellets left in him, and he lit up the metal detector coming in here bright. This family has always been a great deal to me, to produce so many folks in law enforcement. So tonight, for the millions and millions of hours or millions of miles you ran in cruisers, for the thousands and thousands of reports you took, for enforcing the statutes that this House enacts, you are the keepers of the gate of this republic. And I want you to know that on behalf of Colonel Trott and Hawkins County Sheriff's Department, and Mount Carmel Police Department, and Kingsport Police Department, and Washington County Sheriff's Department, Sullivan County Sheriff's Department, and there's 3 more in the extended family in Chattanooga Police Department and TBI. I just want you to know tonight this House wants to honor you, and they want to thank you.
Is it on now? Okay. On behalf of my family, the Mooneyhams and the Mannerings and the Jacksons, we would like to say that it is truly an honor and a privilege to stand here before you, and it truly humbles us for you all to honor us for our service. It's just unbelievable that somebody thinks highly of a police department anymore. We don't see it out on the streets, but we do try to enforce everything that you all bring through these chambers, and we try to do it to our best of our ability. All I can say is this is evidence right here of how committed all the different departments that we represent really are. Thank you for your time.
Go up here. Hey, can you go up right in front of the podium there?
Representative Byrd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to introduce two of our pages today from Savannah, Tennessee, Leah Calton and Carly Tate. Please give them a round of welcome.
Representative Whitson.
Madam Speaker, I'd like the Assembly to recognize the board members of the Down Syndrome Association of Middle Tennessee up in the gallery today.
Representative Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have with me tonight a very special guest. On behalf of Timothy Hill, Bud Hulsey, and myself, I have a Sullivan County Commissioner with me, and his name is Larry Crawford, and he is my dad. So he's back here.
Representative Curcio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to make welcome Jerry Burgess, my road superintendent from Dixon County. Thank you for being here tonight.
Representative Leader Williams, you're recognized in the rail.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move or ask that Representative Kane join me in the well. Representative Kane, report to the well. Madam Speaker, I move the rules be suspended for the immediate consideration of House Joint Resolution number 876.
Mr. Clerk, read the caption.
House Joint Resolution 876 by Chairman Williams and others, a resolution to commend Representative Roger Kane for his honorable and astute service to the people of Tennessee as a member of the House of Representatives.
Without objection, those rules are suspended. Leader Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move adoption of House Joint Resolution number 876.
Leader Williams moves adoption of House Joint Resolution 876. Properly second. Objection to the question. Seeing none, all those in favor of House Joint Resolution 876 say aye. Those opposed say no. I hereby declare it adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I request that the clerk read the resolution.
Mr. Clerk.
House Joint Resolution 876 by Chairman Williams, a resolution to commend Representative Roger Kane for his honorable and astute service to the people of Tennessee as a member of the House of Representatives, whereas it is most appropriate that the members of this body should honor those fellow legislators who have performed their duties with the utmost integrity, and those efforts during their time in office have been dedicated to providing thoughtful and exemplary service to their district and to the great state, and whereas Representative Roger Kane of Knoxville is one such distinguished public servant who has served both his constituency and this legislative body with honor and ability, and whereas Representative Kane is a highly influential figure in the political, social, and civic lives of Knox County, and he has served his constituents in numerous capacities, always working diligently at his elected duties and expending the necessary effort to understand the opposing sides of complex issues, and whereas Roger Kane has distinguished himself as a public-spirited citizen of the highest order and as an exceptional asset to the good people of the 89th House District, whom he has served as a member of the 108th, 109th, and 110th General Assemblies, and whereas throughout his tenure, Roger Kane has been prominent as a dedicated and well-informed legislator who always votes his conscience, and whereas as an active and dynamic participant in the legislative process during his time in the General Assembly, Representative Kane has rendered sterling service as chair of the House Education, Instruction, and Programs Subcommittee, and whereas Representative Kane is a family man, businessman, and community leader, and he has proven that citizens can make a difference by being involved in community service and leading by example, and whereas his many civic and professional accomplishments aside, Roger Kane is most appreciative of the love and companionship he shares with his wife, Brenda, their 4 children, Chris, Holly, Hope, and Tim, and their 2 grandchildren, Tessa and Bristol. And whereas Representative Roger Kane is wholly committed to the noble precepts of public service and have earned Tennessee recognition as a volunteer state, and he should be specially recognized for exemplary tenure in this body. Now, therefore, be it resolved of the House of Representatives of the 110th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we hereby honor Representative Roger Kane for his meritorious service to Tennessee as a member of the House of Representatives, commend him for his countless contributions and many good works in service of the citizens of the 89th House District, and extend to him our best wishes for much continued success and happiness.
Leader Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's my great pleasure to for you that don't know, we probably owe a nice round of applause to Roger Kane for keeping us fed since he got elected to the 108th General Assembly. He is known as the food guy over here. He does not have to pull a health department permit to have all that food over there. We appreciate his willingness to serve. But just like his service here, he's always looked out for other people, and particularly those from his district, and he's be commended for that. We appreciate his wife Brenda and his children Chris, Hope, Holly, and Tim for allowing him to serve. He also has 2 grandchildren, which is probably part of the reason why he wants to stay home a little bit more. But he did start, as I said, with the General Assembly in the 108th, which seems like a long time ago, but time flies. One of the things that I most remember about Roger Kane is how passionate he was about the Lady Vols. And how he wanted to make sure the Lady Vols were able to keep their name. He was always advocating for them, probably because Hope, I know you told me that, Holly, who was a majorette there at UT, and how passionate they were there. Roger's leaving us. He wants to get paid a little bit more for what he does, so he's going to be running for the Knox County Clerk, and so we wish him the best. With that being said, would you like to say a few words?
You know, when I came here 6 years ago, I had no idea what this was going to turn into, and this is a family. To see all these folks up here, you guys have been with me through a lot. I've had 2 deaths in the last 3 months. Y'all have been there for me. You've cried with me. I've probably cried on you more than I cared to. I've loved what we've been able to do here in the last 6 years, and like I said, we need to anoint someone who will be the new snack boy to bring the snacks. I've enjoyed doing it. I started for myself, but it kind of grew into a ministry here of some kind. So thank you for allowing me to serve with you. It truly does my heart good to see how many people love me up here. Thank you.
Leader Cassida.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I was standing over here, 3 or 4 stories just came out about you, Roger Kane, about purple paint and trees and several things you've been notorious for. But I want to share a personal story about Roger and I and our wives and a few others. We were in Anchorage, and I had never seen Mount McKinley. Well, Roger, being the wise man, he said, I don't want to drive all that way. I said, Roger, here's a map of Alaska. Mount McKinley's only this far from Anchorage. So he went with me. 4 hours later, we're still driving. His wife's asleep. He's beaming beams to the back of my head, but it was fun.
It was absolutely fun.
We're going to miss your leadership. We're going to miss you, but you're going to greener pastures, keep county government straight, and thank you for your service.
Take your candy and go back.
Taking my candy.
Take your candy and go home. Yeah.
Personal orders. Representative Moon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are honored tonight to have with us the most outstanding county commission in the state of Tennessee. Will the members of the Blount County Commission please stand? They're over to my right and be recognized.
Representative Towns.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I simply wanted to acknowledge my intern today, Brock Powell, who's standing up there. Stand up, Brock. But more so important than this fantastic young man, his mother, Miss Kathy Powell, and his baby sister have come a mighty long ways to check on Brock and to be with us today. So if you all don't mind, give them one of our Tennessee volunteer welcomes to the state of Tennessee. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Brooks of Bradley. Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just 7 years ago, there was a little girl that was wanting my swearing in process to speed up so we could leave and go get something to eat. Well, now she's back 7 years later, and she's just as tall as you are almost, Madam Speaker. So I want to welcome my daughter, Kirsten Parkinson, as a page for today. Kirsten, wave your hand to the family. Welcome. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Coley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. At this time, I'd hope that the House would welcome a young group from Bartlett, Tennessee, Youth Leadership Bartlett, who are over here to our right. Would you please stand and so you can be recognized? Thank you.
Representative Eldridge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, help me welcome our page today from Jackson, Tennessee, Alan Tanksley, and also he has his mom and dad, Mike and Janet Tanksley, sitting up here in the upper right-hand corner. The Tanksleys are right here. Let's give them a warm welcome. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Calfee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ron Travis and I would like for you to make welcome some Roane County Commissioners up here. Chairman of the Commission, Ron Berry. The two roses between the thorns, Peggy Collier and Karen Granger, and then the infamous Junior Hendrickson. Make them welcome, please.
Representative Van Huss.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like for the body to please make welcome many members of the Washington County Commission, chaired by Commissioner Matherly, his family, and Washington County Republican Women President Sharon Boring.
Representative Gravitt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the Hamilton County delegation, I'd like to welcome the Hamilton County Assessor of Property over here on the east side of the gallery. Thank you very much.
Representative Timothy Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of Representative Holsclaw and myself, please make welcome in the gallery members of the Carter County Commission. They're right up there. Welcome.
Representative Fogarty.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've got a couple of very special groups here tonight. First of all, in the gallery to my left, I have County Mayor John Gentry of McMinn County and the McMinn County Commission and several school board members. Stand up and wave, guys. Stand up and let us see you. Let's make them welcome. Also, Madam Speaker, Chairman Matlock and I are privileged tonight to have Leadership Monroe in the chamber. Let's make them welcome as well. Thank you.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And two quick announcements. One, if you would, help us welcome some commissioners from Knox County. Commissioner Evelyn Gill, Charlie Busler, John Schoonemaker, Michelle Carringer, and Carson Daly, who are with us up in the gallery tonight. And then the second thing, sitting in the back of the room, probably the three most adorable people on the House floor tonight. My two kids and my wife are back in the back, so please make them welcome.
Representative Travis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Tonight is our interns' parents' night. So we have our interns' parents here with us tonight. And I would like to especially welcome Ebony, who is Kiki's mom. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have two particular persons, some persons that I'd like to recognize tonight. First of all, I want to recognize my mayor, Mayor Jimmy Sain, and the 4 county commissioners with him this evening, Commissioner Chris Bell, Commissioner Jackie Sain, Commissioner Elba Cobbs, and Commissioner Jim Daniels, who are to my left up in the balcony. And on behalf of myself and Representative Ron Gant, we want to recognize Mayor Jim Daniels from Hornsby, I believe, where we actually share. Part of his city is in McNairy County, and the other part is in Hardeman. That is Mayor Jim Daniels. Make them welcome, if you will.
Representative Lamberth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I, too, have the best intern in the room in Miss Heather McPherson. Heather's done a fine job for the Criminal Justice Committee, and I just wanted us to make welcome her parents, Brian and Rosemary McPherson, and her little sister and brother, and they are right up there. Y'all please give them a hand. Well done, Heather.
Representative Dawn White.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have the honor of having some of the beautiful young ladies paging for me from Girl Scout Troop 165. Make them welcome. Thank you.
Representative Howell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Have a special guest in the gallery, three-term Bradley County Commissioner Mark Hall up here. Stand up, Mark, and let the people see you. Good to have Mark with us tonight, as well as Bradley County Road Superintendent Sandra Collins and Road Department employee Debbie Jenkins. They're in the Senate right now, but they'll be on the House floor in a few minutes. Glad to have those folks with us.
Representative Staples. Representative Staples? Yeah, pass. Representative Favors.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker and members, a special event occurred on yesterday. Our colleague celebrated his birthday. So please join me in wishing Representative Larry Miller a very happy birthday.
Representative Jernigan. Representative Jernigan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My intern, Cody Piles, folks are also here. Joey and Lori Pyle, I'm not sure in the gallery where you're at, but please give them a warm welcome.
Representative Powell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If you would join me in recognizing my seatmate, it's his birthday. Happy birthday to not a number 3 seed, but a number 1 seed, Rick Staples.
Representative Doss.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I think we all know that it's Parents' Day for our interns. I've been blessed to have one of the best interns that I could ever wish to have, and I have his parents, Mr. and Ms. Upton Sinclair, in the audience, and please make them feel welcome. And also, to keep from anyone getting a complex, if there's anyone in the gallery that has not been recognized, welcome to the State House.
Mm-hmm. Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to have this body welcome my intern's mother and her brother, that is Darla Greer and Tucker Greer. Thank you.
Representative Hicks.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have some guests in the gallery today. To my left, you'll see County Commissioner Stacy Vaughn, as well as County Commissioner Jeff Barrett, as well as his wife, Lisa. To my right, you'll see my road superintendent, Mr. Lowell Bean. And then on the House floor behind me, you'll see longtime Hawkins County Commissioner, Mr. Dwight Carter. Dwight has been a county commissioner for 24 years in Hawkins County, and he's actually retiring this year. So will you please make all these folks feel welcome?
Representative Matheny.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to welcome Benton Bartlett, the road superintendent from Coffee County, is here with us, as well as the Yardumian families visiting, my favorite people. And then everybody tomorrow from 11 to 1, Coffee County is going to have free lunch on the 8th floor, Coffee County Day on the Hill, if everybody will join us. Thank you.
Representative Sanderson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a couple guys on the House floor tonight in the back corner. I've got my mayor from Obion County, Benny McGuire. Stand up, Benny. And my mayor from Kenton, Tennessee, and a county commissioner, Danny Jowers. Please make them welcome. Thank you.
Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to congratulate the ASUN Conference champions, the David Lipscomb Bisons, and on their first trip to the big dance this year, first time in the tournament. So go Bisons and beat North Carolina.
Personal orders. Next order.
Introduction of resolutions.
Leader Cassidy, you recognized.
I move that all resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to Rule 17, placed on the consent calendar, referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order.
Senate Joint Resolutions congratulatory and memorializing.
Leader Cassidy.
I move that all honorary Senate joint resolutions lying on the desk be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to Rule 17.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Resolutions lying over.
Leader Cassidy.
I move that all resolutions lying over be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order.
Introduction of bills, Senate bills on first consideration.
Leader Cassidy.
I move that Senate bills 1670, 2030, 2513, 2514, 2517, and 2638 transmitted by the Senate be held on the desk pending third consideration of the companion House bill.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order.
Senate bills on second consideration, House bills on second
Leader
consideration.
Cassida.
I move that House Bills 2697 through 2701 be passed on second consideration, held on the desk, referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Petitions and memorials, reports from standing committees, reports from select committees, calendars. Madam Speaker, the House has a consent calendar.
Chairman Dunn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of the consent calendar on third and final consideration in keeping with Rule 50.
Gentleman moves passage of the consent calendar, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, have any objections been filed?
Madam Speaker, no objections filed.
Anyone seeking recognition on the consent calendar? Representative Coley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. After consulting with both leaders, I ask that all those voting in the affirmative on item number 19 be listed as prime co-sponsors, with the Shelby County delegation listed first. Thank you.
Without objection, exclusions noted, so ordered. Representative Gravitt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to request that on item number 1, House Bill 2034, the members of the Hamilton County delegation be listed first, followed by the members of the Veterans Caucus. Thank you.
Without objection, exclusions noted, so ordered. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. After consultation with both leaders, I request that all the members voting in the affirmative on items number 5 and 6 be listed as co-prime sponsors.
Without objection, exclusions noted, so ordered. Anyone else seeking recognition on the consent calendar? We're voting on the consent calendar. All members in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 89, no nays, 2 present, not voting.
Having received a constitutional majority, I declare the consent calendar passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Next order.
Madam Speaker, the House has a regular calendar.
Call up the first bill.
House Bill 1851 by Representative Towne and others relative to defenses involving firearms.
Representative Towns, you're recognized.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the passage of House Bill 1851.
Representative Towns moves passage, properly seconded. Representative Towns, you're recognized.
Madam Speakers and members, this bill, 1851, out of all the time that I've been in this General Assembly, has garnered more support from across the state about things that are happening in our community, and it really surprised me. What it essentially does is this: if you come out in your driveway and you see someone that's attempting to take your car, or to take your Winnebago, or to do something to your neighbor's house, or you're on the highway, you have an incident, and you fire your gun as a warning shot to let them know they need to cease and desist, you don't get prosecuted for it. And that's essentially what the bill does. And as I said, it's gotten a great response from all across the state. I was just really shocked. With that explanation, Madam Speaker, I move pass it on third and final consideration.
Representative Towns renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question? Seeing none, those in favor of House Bill 1851 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members.
Ayes 92, no nays.
House Bill 1851 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 1818 by Representative Hawk and others relative to private trust companies. Madam Speaker, members, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Lynn is recognized at her desk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask to roll this bill to the next available spot on the next available calendar.
Without objection. Next bill.
House Bill 2179 by Representative Hazelwood relative to travel protection services. Madam Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Hazelwood, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1973.
Representative Hazelwood moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1973, properly seconded without objection, so ordered. Representative Hazelwood.
Madam Speaker, I move passage of Senate Bill 1973 on third and final consideration.
Representative Hazelwood moves passage of Senate Bill 1973 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up the First Amendment.
House Insurance and Banking Committee Amendment number 1. It is spread on the member's desk and is the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Travis, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Hazelwood, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Hazelwood renews her motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 1973 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Senate Bills 1973 have received a constitutional majority. I hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and House.
House Bill 1855 by Representative Rudd and others relative to limiting new statewide assessments.
Representative Rudd, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move passage of House Bill 1855 on third and final consideration.
Representative Rudd moves passage, properly seconded. Representative Rudd, you're call the First Amendment, Mr. Clerk.
House Amendment number 1 by Representative Rudd is spread on the member's desk. Madam Speaker, is timely filed.
Representative Rudd, you're recognized.
I move to adopt Amendment 1.
Representative Rudd moves adoption of Amendment number 1, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of Amendment number 1 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam
Representative
Speaker.
Rudd, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Rudd renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of House Bill 1855 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
House Bill 1855 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 2433 by Chairman White relative to sexual misconduct. Madam Speaker, members, the Senate bills on the desk.
Representative White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to request we hold Senate Bill 2015 on the desk.
Without objection. Next bill.
House Bill 2430 by Representative White relative to charter schools authorized by the State Board of Education. Madam Speaker, members, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to substitute conform to Senate Bill 1899.
Representative White moves to substitute conform to Senate Bill 1899, properly seconded. Without objection, so ordered. Representative White.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1899 on third and final consideration.
Representative White moves passage of Senate Bill 1899 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up the First Amendment.
House Education, Instruction, and Programs Committee Amendment number 1 is spread on the member's desk is the same as Senate Amendment
Chairman
number 1.
Fogarty, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Representative White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 2430 just seeks to add into our state code that the State Board of Education is an LEA, or Local Educational Association. With that, Madam Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative White renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm sorry, Mr. Sponsor. I didn't hear your explanation. Could you repeat that?
Representative White.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, what we're doing is putting in the state code that the State Board of Education is an LEA. Currently, we didn't spell out a number of years ago when we made them an authorization agent for a charter school. And now that they have certain schools under them, without putting in code that they are an LEA, they can't draw down the federal funds that are appropriate for this like we do in all public schools.
Representative Shaw.
So this would be for both chartered as well as public schools?
Right. As you know, the State Board of Education, they are an authorizing agent for charter schools. Whenever we passed a bill a number of years ago that if they okayed a charter school, but the local turned it down, but then it went back to local and they said, no, we do not want to manage this, it comes back under the State Board of Education. So they are an LEA in effect. We're just putting that language in the code that says that they draw down the federal funds.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you. So then, once this legislation passed, then the locals, really the Board of Education would make the decision rather than the locals, if the locals didn't want to.
No, we already can do this. It only affects if a charter is under their authorization. No other schools apply.
Representative Jones.
Okay, Mr. Sponsor, let's see if I understand what you're trying to do. If a small county does not approve a charter school in their district, that charter school can appeal to the Board of Education. And if the Board of Education approves that charter school over the objections of the local education association, then that charter school, with this legislation, will be able to pull money out of the local school that goes to that charter school that the state approved. And does this money then come directly to the charter school, directly to the state of Tennessee? How is that money dispersed?
Okay. No, ma'am. First of all, everything, we passed the law back around 2013. I believe this has been in effect for a number of years. So the only thing we're doing, let me just read this. In Tennessee Code Annotated 4913-1 and 42 states that the state board is responsible for the oversight and monitoring of charter schools that it authorizes. And that will only be if a local says, no, we don't want to manage that school. So that makes them the authorizing agent for that charter, just that one or two or whatever it may be. I think right now we have maybe one. And so we don't have in the current language that the state board is specifically an LEA. And we need that language in there for them to draw down the federal funds that they would like any other system for. So we're not changing anything. We're just making that, putting that in the state code.
Representative Jones?
Okay. When my school board says we don't want this charter school in our district, we don't like them, we don't like the way they work, we don't like their background, and then the state approves that charter school that none of us liked, the state becomes the LEA. I know all of that, okay? So what I'm trying to get to here is the money. Does the money then go to the charter school directly? Does it go back to the state of Tennessee directly? Because that local LEA is going to lose that funding. So who does the money go to?
Right. Well, that's true in any LEA. It passes through, well, it either passes through the LEA to the charter if the LEA, the local LEA manages it. But if the state board manages it, it goes to the state board to that charter, the funding, the BP funding.
Representative Jones?
So the Department of Education is going to pull this money down, and they're going to give it to the charter school that my local government said was bad, and we didn't want it.
Okay, but you are on a bill that we passed like 4 or 5 years ago. This bill does not address that.
On the bill, Representative Jones?
Yes. I understand what we passed before, but you're giving the LEA, the State Department, the money that goes to an LEA, because you're creating them as an LEA. You're giving them the money, correct?
The state board as the LEA, is that what you're asking?
Representative Jones?
No, I said that, Mr. Sponsor. I understand that. I know that. What you're doing is you're bringing that money down from the feds and you're giving it to the Department of State, to our state, Department of Education, to run a charter school that the locals have already said is bad.
No, the federal money I'm referring to is the federal money that all the schools get. We're not getting any extra federal money for the charter.
Representative Parkinson?
I guess I'm not following you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Madam Chair, if I can have the attention of the body, I think this is important for everyone to know. Mr. Sponsor, we already have a state-run school district, do we not?
Achievement School District.
So there's one school district. That's one state-run school district. And we have now are adding with this a second state-run school district. Mr. Sponsor, is that not more government? Is that not bigger government?
No, sir. No, you're missing the point of this bill. You're bringing something into this bill that is not. A number of years ago, and this is where I was trying to talk to Representative Jones, is that when the State Board of Education becomes the authorizing agent of a charter, due to the state law we've already passed, it has to say in our state code 4913-142 that they are an LEA, so that they can appropriately administer the funds. Some of the funds come from the federal government. We know all our schools get federal funds. Without the LEA, or local educational administration, in our state code, they can't draw down these funds. That's all we're doing in this bill, making something clear.
Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My questions have been answered. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Representative Parkinson, you were...
Madam Speaker, I wasn't finished with the sponsor.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we're adding the title LEA in the code to make them an LEA, an official LEA.
They already are, but we had to state it in the code.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we're making this. I just want to be clear on this. We're making them an official education agency,
which they are
in the code.
Right, which they are, but without. We're stating it specifically in our Tennessee Code annotated that they are an LEA.
Representative Parkinson.
But they were operating as an LEA before this bill. Am I correct?
I believe one school, I'm saying to be correct, I believe one school is under their authority now, and so that's why we found out now that we need to correct this language.
Representative Parkinson.
That's incorrect, Mr. Sponsor. There are, at a minimum, I think there are 3 schools under their purview right now. 1 in Shelby, 1 in Davidson, 2 in Davidson. Am I correct? So they've been operating as an LEA before this. What does that mean?
I couldn't answer that. I just know that I'm trying to correct the language so that we can draw down the federal funds.
Representative Parkinson.
Have they been operating illegally?
I wouldn't say that. They're probably not getting the federal funds appropriately.
Representative Dunn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the sponsor yield?
Yes, sir.
Are these public charter schools?
They are public charter schools.
Are they there to educate our Tennessee children?
That is correct.
And so this to educate our Tennessee children?
That is correct.
That is a good bill. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Gravitt.
Call previous question.
Previous question has been called for. Is there objection? There is objection. We're on the board. Those in favor of previous question vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 66, 24 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting on Senate Bill 1899. All those in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 71, 20 nays.
Senate Bill 1899 having received a constitutional majority hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
Next bill you have coming up.
House Bill 1825 by Representative White, relative to employment security.
Representative White, you're recognized.
Probably haven't passed it yet.
Okay, because this is the one you have. We combined 2 amendments into one, and the Senate didn't do that. So I'm going to adopt it.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1825 on third and final consideration.
Representative White moves passage. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call for First Amendment.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1. It's spread on the members' desks.
Chairman Sargent, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for the explanation.
Chairman Sargent moves adoption of amendment number 1. Properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of amendment number 1 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam
Representative
Speaker.
White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Renew my motion.
Representative White renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Representative Pitts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Chairman White, will you yield?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to me or explain the section we're deleting out of this bill has to do with triggering on the trust fund?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed the part where I should explain the bill. This was brought to the Department of Labor, and it deals with our unemployment compensation. Currently, right now, we have a very high figure for our unemployment, about $1.1 billion, which keeps our wage base down on our employers. And so what we're doing, we found out when we passed in the current code, we have to have 2 subsequent readings. We're doing well right now economically, but if we have another 2008 come along and we begin to draw down on our unemployment compensation, we could drain it out pretty quickly. So we found we need to change the wording so that it would take like 18 months to actually start raising the fee on our employers. And so we're changing the code so we can do that quicker so that we don't drain our unemployment on an economic turndown.
Representative Pitts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Chairman White, that was really smart. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further discussion?
Thank you.
Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of House Bill 1825 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 85, 7 nays.
House Bill 1825, having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 1847 by Representative Powell relative to political communications.
Representative Powell, you're recognized at your desk.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to move this bill 2 weeks to March 26th.
Without objection. Next bill.
House Bill 2337 by Representative Powell relative to delinquent tax proceedings.
Representative Powell, you're recognized at your desk.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to move this bill to March 19th, 1 week.
Without objection. Next bill.
House Bill 1695 by Representative Pitts and others relative to honoring certain prescriptions during a disaster. Madam Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Pitts, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to substitute and conform with Senate Bill 1670.
Representative Pitts moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1670, properly seconded. Without objection, so ordered. Representative Pitts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1670 on third and final consideration.
Representative Pitts moves passage of Senate Bill 1670 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up the First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1 is spread on the member's desk.
Chairman Sexton, you're recognized.
Move the withdrawal.
Without objection, Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Representative Pitts, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill, as amended, will allow a pharmacist to fill on a short-term basis, not to exceed 20 days, a prescription should a patient be displaced by a natural disaster like flood or tornado or fire. And pending further questions, I renew my motion.
Representative Pitts renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 1670 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 91, no nays.
Senate Bill 1670, having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
Yeah.
We're on the Senate bill. You want the finance?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you want the finance?
No, we want to.
Representative Pitts.
Madam Speaker, may I roll this 2 spaces to clarify some amendments?
Without objection. Next bill.
House Bill 1875 by Representative Reedy and others relative to feeding industrial hemp to animals.
Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1875 on the third and final consideration.
Representative Reedy moves passage, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee Amendment number 1 is spread on the member's desk.
Chairman Halford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment number 1 rewrites the bill and includes industrial hemp on the list of commodities in the definition of commercial feed. Move to adopt.
Chairman Halford moves adoption of Amendment number 1, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of Amendment number 1 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I renew my motion.
Representative Reedy renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question. Representative McCormick, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We explain what the bill does.
Representative Reedy.
With that, Representative, it adds it to, and I'm going to read it as it would be seen in the bill. It says it adds it to the commodities such as hay, straw, stover, silage, cobs, husk, hulls, and includes industrial hemp. And so with that, it still maintains the definition of the bill that we passed last year that none of it can be over 0.3% THC, the Delta 9s.
Further discussion? Objection to the question. Representative Shaw? No. Further discussion?
Call for question.
All those in favor of House Bill 1875 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 79, 7 nays, 2 present, not voting.
House Bill 1875 and received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
Madam Speaker, the House is back on page 8, item 11. Page 8, item 11. House Bill 1496 by Representative Pitts. Relative to eligibility for property tax relief during certain temporary relocations. Madam Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Pitts, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage or substitute and conform with the Senate bill.
Representative Pitts moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1675, properly second. Without objection, so ordered. Representative Pitts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of Senate bill on third and final consideration.
Representative Pitts moves passage of Senate Bill 1675 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Local Government Committee Amendment number 1 and spread on the members' desks is the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Wargo, you are recognized.
Same as Senate Amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1 and is spread on the members' desk is House Amendment 2.
Chairman Sargent, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for the explanation.
Chairman Sargent moves adoption amendment number 2, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendments. All those in favor of amendment number 2 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Pitts, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill, as amended, would make some changes, some improvements to our property tax relief programs for our disabled veterans, permanently disabled, and our low-income senior citizens. So if they are confined to a nursing home, the home of a friend or relative, for any period of time, they would retain their eligibility, and it would also apply to a disabled veteran's spouse as long as they're qualifying. And pending questions, I renew my motion.
Representative Pitts renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 1675 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 91, no nays.
Senate Bill 1675 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 2099 by Representative Reedy and others relative to educator licenses. Madam Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move that House Bill 2099 be held on the clerk's desk.
Without objection, on the desk. Next bill.
House Bill 1498 by Representative Rogers and others relative to adult daycare. Madam Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Rogers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1487.
Representative Rogers moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1487, properly second. Without objection, so ordered. Representative Rogers.
Madam Speaker, I move passage of Senate Bill 1487 on third and final consideration.
Representative Rogers moves passage of Senate Bill 1487 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call for First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1 and is spread on the members' desk is the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move the withdrawal.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 2 it is spread on the members' desk.
Chairman Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment 2 clarifies the definition of a religious organization. Move to adopt.
Chairman Sexton moves adoption of amendment number 2, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of amendment number 2 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Representative Rogers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this bill was brought to me by a constituent that's up in the galley tonight. It's Miss Marianne Oglesby Southerly, and I'm very grateful to her. The purpose of this legislation is to allow religious or organizations or institutions to provide limited respite services for primary in-home caregivers of elderly and vulnerable adult family members or adults with activities of daily living limitations. The best way to describe this is as a Mother's Day Out program for these caregivers. Research has shown that they need these breaks. It's the #1 requested service by people seeking counseling because of the stress that they endure in doing their caregiving activities, and it provides socialization and different activities for those that are participating. It is necessary to the state of Tennessee because we're about to go from 970,000 elderlies over the next 15 years to 1.4 million, and currently we are 45th in long-term care options in support, quality, and affordability. It is a very limited program, no more than 12 hours in any 1 week, 6 hours in any day, and they have to register with the Department of Human Services that has been our greatest champion. So I'm asking you, this bill allows us as a body to bring joy and activity to the forgotten and give those that care for them time to rest and recharge, and I'm going to say with no government expense for their operation. And with that motion, Madam Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Rogers renews her motion. Discussion on the bill. Representative Weaver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Representative Rogers, I want to thank you for bringing this bill, because this is the kind of legislation that definitely defines what community is to be about and how the community is supposed to get involved to care for our elders. And I commend your guest in the gallery. I commend you on a job well done. Thank you for this legislation.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Representative Hardaway at Representative White's desk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And to the sponsor, this merely changes from licensure to registration. Registration is still necessary with the state.
Absolutely. Yes,
Right.
sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Further discussion. Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 1487 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Senate Bill 1487 have received a constitutional majority. Hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
Thank you, members.
House Bill 2209 by Representative Terry, relative to treatment of heart attack patients. Madam Speaker, members, Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Terry, you recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2071.
Representative Terry moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2071. Properly seconded. Without objection, so ordered. Representative Terry.
Madam Speaker, I move passage of Senate Bill 2071 on third and final consideration.
Representative Terry moves passage of Senate Bill 2071 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1. It is spread on the member's desk.
Chairman Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment 1 creates a system of care around STEMI heart attacks by establishing procedures for communication and collaboration between hospitals and emergency medical services across the state. Move to adopt.
Chairman Sexton moves to adoption of House Amendment number 1. Properly seconded. In discussion on the amendment, all those in favor of adoption of House Amendment number 1 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill creates a better system of care around STEMI heart attacks by creating more communication and collaboration between hospitals and EMS. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Terry renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question. Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 2071 as amended voted aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Senate Bill 2071 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Representative Eldridge, for what purpose?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know I'm out of order, Madam Speaker, but we have a dear friend here, somebody that's a dear friend of yours, a former member of this General Assembly, Bill Sipes, who represented House District 73 for several years, along with his wife, Margie. Y'all please stand. Let's give him a warm welcome. Bill Sipes. And, Madam Speaker, for the record, he's my brother-in-law's brother, and we'll explain that later on. So we're brother-in-law's brother-in-laws. Thank you.
Very good. Out of order. Next bill.
House Bill 2113 by Representative Terry and others, relative to confidentiality of individually identifiable health information. Madam Speaker, members, Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2246.
Representative Terry moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2246 without objection. So ordered. Representative Terry.
I move passage of Senate Bill 2246 on third and final consideration.
Representative Terry moves passage of Senate Bill 2246 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Representative Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This states that identifiable health information remains confidential and is not open to the public unless the Department of Health is required or authorized by law or as is necessary to carry out the purpose of the Department rules. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Terry renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question. Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 2246 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Senate Bill 2246, having received a constitutional majority, hereby declared passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
Thank you, members.
House Bill 1815 by Representative Hawk and others relative to certain Department of Environment and Conservation records. Madam Speaker, members, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Hawk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2239.
Representative Hawk moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2239 without objection. So ordered. Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2239 on third and final consideration.
Representative Hawk moves passage of Senate Bill 2239 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Representative Hawk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senate Bill 2239 comes to us from our Department of Environment and Conservation. It deals with public records on two fronts. The first front, it allows the inspection of information relative to nuclear materials that is not confidential under federal law or guidance. And second, it also seeks to exempt records containing the specific location of archaeological resources from disclosure as a public record. In certain cases, the disclosure of this could cause harm to a historical site, artifacts, or property. With that explanation, Madam Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Hawk renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Representative Hulsey.
Thank you. Will the sponsor yield?
Certainly.
Could you just explain that? Artifacts out here, I can't understand where we'd ever be in a case where you'd worry about artifacts being destroyed if we don't tell the public where they're at.
Certainly.
Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Division of Archaeology maintains records regarding the specific location of archaeological resources. That falls underneath TDEC. There have been several cases, unfortunately, of looting and vandalism at these sites over the years. In addition, some federal agencies and private landowners did not disclose these archaeological sites. Since the division is not exempt from making these public records, we are making these exempt now. Hope that helps, Chairman Hulsey.
Representative Moon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know in Blount County with Cherokee Nation, from time to time, this has been an issue. I think it's a very good bill. I urge all the members to support it. Thank you.
Representative Towns.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Representative, sponsor yield.
Of course.
If you don't mind, I am just now seeing it. Explain to me what is happening with radioactive stuff that may be located or something of that nature. Explain that to me, please.
Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This certainly keeps us in line with federal regulations on what can and what cannot be disclosed in terms of nuclear information. So this really just brings us in line with what the NRC is doing now, the National Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
Representative Towns?
In any of our historical sites, have we found anything that's close to being radioactive or dangerous or something of that nature?
Representative Hawk?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Representative Towns. This actually is affecting two different topics under one bill. So the first explanation, the first part of it is dealing with the nuclear and potential information on radioactive material that follows federal guidelines. The second part of the bill is completely different and is dealing with archaeological sites. So it's actually two different concepts coming together in one bill.
Representative Towns?
If you don't mind, sir, explain the second part to me with clarity so I can get that second part.
Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The second part of the legislation seeks to exempt records containing the specific location of archaeological resources from disclosure as a public record. There have been instances, as Representative Moon stated a few moments ago, where some historic sites have been looted. Just simply because the public knows their location. So this is allowing us to exempt some of those archaeological sites that have historical value across the state of Tennessee.
Representative Towns.
Obviously, we think that's obviously we don't want anybody looting or defacing property that the government pays for. We pay for as citizens, and I would be all for that. The question becomes, at some point, you say you have a member of this delegation, or you have some reputable people or some citizens that want information. How would they go about, ascertaining information while also trying to protect our sites?
Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Towns, I would suggest that they call you to find out what that information is.
Representative Towns.
So that means members would have access to it, what you're saying?
Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Towns, I don't want to say that and not be accurate, but I have a feeling that if there was a particular question about a particular site that's of interest to your constituent, that you would be able to work with the Department of Environment and Conservation to get those answers that you need.
Representative Towns.
Well, the deal of it is that, and I don't know, I know we should prosecute, obviously, if people are defacing property, but the thought still remains whether or not citizens are going to be able to have access to information that they pay for. They're paying for this stuff. Citizens are paying for information. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is being, open and disclose certain things. Okay, now that may mean sometimes putting up cameras and having people to make sure that our sites are properly protected. But I don't want to see us get so constricted where the citizens cannot ascertain information. You're not going to be here forever. I'm not going to be here forever. God forbid, But our citizens will be paying for everything that we do forever. So just to FYI.
Representative Reedy.
Madam Speaker, previous question.
Previous question has been called for. Is there objection? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 2239 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 83, 7 nays, 2 present, on voting.
Senate Bill 2239 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion to reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 1817 by Representative Hawk, relative to post-employment benefits. Madam Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Hawk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2241.
Representative Hawk moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2241 without objection. So ordered. Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 2241 on third and final consideration.
Representative Hawk moves passage of Senate Bill 2241 on third and final consideration. Properly seconded. Representative Hawk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senate Bill 2241 deals with other post-employment benefits that we set up back in 2015. This bill will allow the OPEB trust to be established for local education retiree costs and permit LEAs to invest their funds in the trust. Additionally, it amends existing statute to allow reciprocity in pre-age 65 retiree insurance eligibility between state employees and employees of a participating LEA. With that explanation, Madam Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Hawk renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Representative Fitzhugh.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Sponsor, does it require these OPEB benefits to be put in this fund for the LEAs?
Representative Hawk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It only allows. There is no forced participation in this program.
Further discussion? Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 2241 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Ayes 93, no nays.
Senate Bill 2241 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion to reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 2116 by Representative Wendell, relative to the creation of futuristic green city of Just Be Green.
Representative Wendell at his desk.
Next available counter, Mr. Speaker.
Without objection, next bill.
House Bill 1701 by Representative Jernigan and others, relative to adult entertainment.
Representative Jernigan, you are recognized.
House Bill 1701, third and final consideration.
Representative Jernigan moves passage properly. Seconded. Mr. Clerk, call for First Amendment.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1 and is spread on the member's desk.
Chairman Sargent, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for the explanation of
Chairman
Amendment
Sargent
1.
moves adoption of Amendment number 1 properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of Amendment number 1 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Senator Jernigan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What this bill does is put a $2 cover charge on adult performance businesses. As amended, the intent is to go to a victims fund for sex trafficking, and also as amended, it will be a 3-year sunset on the bill. So I'm open to answer questions. And
Representative Jernigan renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Representative Lamberth.
Move previous question.
Previous question has been called for. Is there objection? Seeing none, all those in favor, House Bill 1701 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Aye.
Ayes 69, 15 nays, 4 present, not voting.
House Bill 1701 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 2251 by Representative Matlock and others relative to medical assistance.
Representative Matlock, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move passage of House Bill 2251 on third and final consideration.
Representative Matlock moves passage properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call for the First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1 and is spread on the member's desk.
Chairman Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment 1 requires a waiver amendment to the existing TennCare 2 waiver to be submitted that requires elective abortion providers to be excluded from participation as providers in the TennCare program. Move to adopt.
Chairman Sexton moves adoption. Amendment number 1 properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of Amendment number 1 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Representative Matlock, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, today I present to you House Bill 2251, which states that it is the policy of our state to avoid using state funds to promote or support elective abortions. It also directs TennCare to submit a waiver to the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services to allow Tennessee to exclude a provider in the TennCare program if they find that inclusion of the provider in the program would result in the direct or indirect use of state funds to promote or support elective abortions. Finally, it requires TennCare to implement the waiver amendment within 10 business days once the waiver is approved. The amendment makes certain that hospitals are not affected and exempts those who have abortions due to rape, incest, or life of the mother. We have found in our research that nearly $1 million have been paid to abortion clinics in Tennessee in the form of TennCare reimbursements over the past 6 years. This money is a form of supporting abortions. Clinics can use this money simply to cost shift other expenses. The Trump administration has indicated that they would begin approving these requests, and so we're simply taking a step to request a waiver. It would finally, once and for all, get rid of all state funds that go to abortion clinics. With that, Madam Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Matlock renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Representative Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the sponsor yield?
Yes, sir.
There's a case, Planned Parenthood v. Greater Memphis Region versus Dresner, and Judge Haynes said that the state was penalizing patients for exercising their constitutional rights of affiliation. Why isn't the case, if this bill passes, apply?
Representative Matlock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The case in which you're referring has to do with Title X dollars, which are 100% federal dollars.
Representative Stewart.
Do you know how many Medicaid patients will no longer be able to receive reproductive health care services, including access to birth control and STD treatment, from their current providers of care if this bill passes?
This bill has absolutely no impact on any provider who does not also perform abortions.
Representative Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, but it will have an impact on some providers. Do you know where those providers will go to get birth control? Those providers' patients will go to get birth control and other services if this bill passes?
We have a clinic in 95 counties and municipal health clinics that provide health care for those in need. There are also hundreds of doctors across the state who accept TennCare patients. These are doctors who provide comprehensive care such as mammogram, prenatal care, and birth control options. There are also many non-profit clinics.
Representative Stewart.
Do the MCOs, the managed care organizations that manage care for Medicaid enrollees, have a plan to transition these patients to new, nearby, and accessible providers so they can get access to birth control without any break in service?
Representative Matlock.
There are no services denied through this bill.
Representative Stewart.
Can you tell me why the amendment exempts health care providers who perform fewer than 50 abortions per year? Why is that?
The amendment simply states that any provider who performs abortions would be dealt with in this bill.
Representative Stewart.
So the amendment doesn't exempt health care providers who perform fewer than 50 abortions a year?
The amendment that you're referring to is as stated.
Representative Stewart.
And I just want to know, is there a basis for that number, a rational basis for the 50 number?
50 was the number we chose.
Representative Stewart.
Last question, and thank you for your responses. I'm told that there'll be 5,000 plus women in Shelby County and approximately 2,500 in the Knoxville area, for example, that will lose access to health care services if this bill passes. Do you take issue with that? It sounds like you reject that analysis. It's fair.
No.
Representative Matlock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. No services currently being provided will be affected other than those that are in clinics that provide abortions. Thank you.
Representative Byrd.
Call previous question.
Previous question has been called for. Is there objection? There is objection. We're on the board. Those in favor of previous question vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 67, 20 nays.
Previous question prevails. We're voting on House Bill 2251.
Do you want to?
Representative Matlock, did you have a closing comment?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just like to say a couple of things. The young man in my office, Theo Vallis, has devoted an entire session to this legislation to protect the sanctity of life. My wife and I, who's with me tonight, have devoted an entire lifetime to protection of unborn children. This legislation tonight puts our state in the position that no state dollars will go to an organization in our state that performs abortion, and I thank you for your vote.
All those in favor of House Bill 2251 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 71, 17 nay.
House Bill 2251 having received a constitutional majority hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion to reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 941 by Chairman Carter and others relative to supported decision-making agreements. Madam Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Carter, you recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 0264, please.
Representative Carter moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 264, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Carter.
Madam Speaker, I move passage of Senate Bill 264 on third and final consideration.
Representative Carter moves passage of Senate Bill 264 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Civil Justice Committee Amendment number 1. It is spread on the members' desks.
Chairman Farmer, you recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This amendment deletes all language after the enacting clause and defines the term least restrictive alternatives. Move to adopt.
Chairman Farmer moves adoption of House Amendment number 1, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor of amendment number 1 say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Representative Carter, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, this bill has been 35 or 40 years in the making. Why would I say that? Because when I was a young person in high school, if you suffered with a disability, you were pretty well shoved aside. With changes in laws and groups, 501c3s, dedicating their life to the improvement of the life of the disabled, dramatic improvements in the lives of these young people has occurred in the past years. Our problem is our laws have not kept up. Now you either have a conservatorship or you do not. With the highly functioning disabled people that we have now as a result of these great programs that have worked, we need an intermediary step. This bill does exactly that. It creates what's called a contract of supported decision-making, which allows either a judge in a case or parties outside a case to enter into a contract to assist but not remove the rights of the disabled. With that explanation, Madam Speaker, I move passage.
Representative Carter renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor, Senate Bill 264 is amended. Vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 91, no nays.
Senate Bill 264 having received a constitutional majority hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 2053 by Representative Staples and others relative to Down syndrome.
Representative Staples, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 2053 on third and final consideration.
Representative Staples moves passage. Properly seconded. Representative Staples, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, what this bill does, it requires the department to make available information on their website that has to deal directly with Down syndrome, updated information as they receive positive results on Down syndrome, and healthcare providers and those that are caregivers for those that may be. Come on in. Deemed to have been found to have Down syndrome. With that explanation, Madam Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Staples renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of House Bill 2053 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Ayes 91, no nays.
House Bill 2053 having received a constitutional majority hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
House Bill 1474 by Chairman Ramsey and others relative to consumption of alcoholic beverages on premises. Madam Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Ramsey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2210.
Representative Ramsey moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 2210, properly seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Ramsey.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd move passage of Senate Bill 2210 on third and final consideration.
Representative Ramsey moves passage of Senate Bill 2210 on third and final consideration, properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up the First Amendment.
House State Government Committee Amendment number 1. It is spread on the members' desks.
Chairman Sanderson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to adopt.
Chairman Sanderson moves adoption of House Amendment number 1, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. You adopt. Next amendment.
No further amendments, Madam Speaker.
Representative Ramsey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill simply authorizes Marblegate Farm in Blount County to sell alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption. The amendment itself adds a bed and breakfast in Sevier County, represented by Representative Carr, who has signed on the bill. With that explanation, pending further questions, Madam Speaker, I'd renew my motion.
Representative Ramsey renews his motion. Discussion on the bill. Objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 2210 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, take the vote.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Ayes 70, 12 nays, 8 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 2210, having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed. Without objection, motion reconsider is tabled. Next bill.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That completes the regular calendar, Madam Speaker.
Next order.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business. Leader Cassada.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On consultation with the Minority Leader, I move that to suspend the rules to allow House Bill 717 to be heard in Health Subcommittee this week.
You've heard the motion. Are there objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Cassada.
I move that to suspend the rules to allow House Bill 2426 to be heard in Education Administration Sub this
You've
week.
heard the motion. Are there objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Cassada.
Madam Speaker, I move to suspend the rules to allow House Bill 2038 to be heard in Local Government Committee this week.
You've heard the motion. Are there objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Cassada.
Madam Speaker, I move to suspend the rules to allow House Bill 2700 to be heard in Local Government Committee this
You've
week.
heard the motion. Are there objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Cassada.
And Madam Speaker, I move to suspend the rules to allow House Bill 1785 to be heard in Civil Justice Sub this week.
You've heard the motion. Are there objections? Without objection, so ordered. Other unfinished business. Next order.
Announcements.
Announcements. Representative Sanderson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House State Government Subcommittee will have the final calendar on Wednesday, March 28th. If you have legislation referred to our committee, please have it introduced by Wednesday, March 21st at 3:30. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On Wednesday, the Criminal Justice Full Committee will be beginning our deliberations on the bills at 12:15. So members of the Criminal Justice Committee, if you have other committees that you need to appear in at noon, please do so. We will be beginning directly at 12:15. And members that have bills in the Criminal Justice Committee at Wednesday, we completely understand if you need to go to another committee first. We're trying to give everybody a little bit of flexibility on this. Thank you.
Further announcements. Representative Stewart.
Yes, members, tonight we had a number of bills on which debate was cut off very prematurely. You know, it's not good practice. The people that have the votes can rule this body, and I really think we should allow more debate. It's not good practice. It doesn't make for good legislation.
Announcements. Representative Holt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a couple of announcements. First of all, somebody stole my voting stick, so shame on you, and I expect for it to be back by Thursday. Thank you, whoever that is. Look at that. You know, they always say the closest to you are the ones you're supposed to watch. Second of all, the Capitol Ministry Bible Study is going to be tomorrow morning on the 5th floor in Conference Room H. Oh, okay, maybe it was canceled. Check your email. How about that? Prayer breakfast is tomorrow morning. It's canceled. Thank you. Last but not least, next Monday night at this time, y'all will be ready to go devour a great meal. That will be the kickoff for Ag Day on the Hill. I want to invite you to make sure and be a part of that. We're going to be on the 8th floor in the Cordell Hull building. And then the next morning at 9:30, we're going to have our competition outside. There'll be live animals, assuming that we have good weather. And the speaker will again reign victoriously over the Senate. It will be a great thing to witness. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Holsclaw.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just let everyone know that our business utility pre-meeting will be canceled in the morning at 7:30, and also it will be our last calendar tomorrow. So thank you for your time.
Representative Brooks of Bradley. Any other announcements? Next order.
Roll call.
Roll call. Take the roll, Mr. Clerk.
No. Madam Speaker, 90 members present.
Next order.
That completes the regular order, Madam Speaker.
Cassidy, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House stand in recess till 9 a.m. Thursday, March 15th.
Without objection, the House stands in recess until 9 a.m. on Thursday, March 15th, 2018.